Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a team that is supposed to counter Annihilape. We're going to have our own Annihilape there as well, but we're also going to have the Wigglytuff, which I feel like has a lot more play right now. And the opponent thinks the same here, so they're going to run also their Wigglytuff. We're going to have a team that is kind of weak as well against Wigglytuff, because we're going to have our Safe Swap of Mew, which is going to have access to Shadow Claw, and of course, this is going to be double resisted. Plus, you're going to have the Annihilape in the back, which really does not want to face up against a Wigglytuff, and that's exactly why we run our own. But also, here we're going to see kind of how strong this team can be, and this team actually worked out super well for me. If you don't have a Mew, which a lot of people don't have as far as I know, you can also use a Sableye as a Safe Swap for this team, and it still should work out pretty well, as Annihilape and Sableye, or like Mew with a Safe Swap, is really good together. Like Mew in general in the current meta is really strong, because they're basically next to no dark types around anymore, especially also now with another counter user that's really strong. Dark types definitely have a little bit of an issue. So here we're going to be able to just get to 2 Ice Punches, and Annihilape completely destroys the entire team of the opponent, which is kind of funny. And so we can now win this game even with the farm none of Mew. Next opponent is running the Mantine in the lead, which is definitely one of the hardest answers to Annihilape as well, so we're going to be forced to stay in here. We can use a shield on the first move because, yeah, we're going to be able to go for an Icy Wind afterwards and force the opponent to swap out anyway, so this will allow us to basically take less damage from the opponent and kind of secure this matchup as well. The opponent going to use a shield here, but like this, we're going to take less damage. The opponent swaps out into their own Trevenant, and I can just stay in here. I can go for another Icy Wind, and I can force a knockout against the opponent, which is going to be amazing for us, because Wigglytuff is honestly a core breaker for so many teams currently. Like, this Pokemon is so strong. We're going to see here that the opponent goes down. Let's see what they're coming back into. Is going to be the Annihilape, and Annihilape does also not appreciate Mew. Mew is going to do super effective damage with the fast move while resisting their fast move, plus having just very neutral play with the charge move that it runs. So Mew is actually one of the bigger winner as well for the current meta change with Annihilape, which is kind of funny, because like you would not really expect it too much, but Mew was a lot of fun to play, as you're going to be able to take an Ice Beam here and just easily win the game as the opponent decides to forfeit. Next opponent coming up, we're going to have a Shadow Credilli against us. Very spicy, but in comes now the opponent's Skeleturgent, because most people expect, if there's just your pure Psychic type Pokemon, that they're going to have something like a Cresselia in the back. But we actually have here the Mew, which is going to be a way better answer against something like a Skeleturgent, because they have access to Shadow Claw being super effective and Surf being super effective. And with this, we're going to guarantee switch alignment here, which is kind of amazing for us as well. We might have to use an extra shield though, because they're going to be very fast to their charge moves, but it's going to be fine. As you're gonna see now, I can just use another shield. I can overfarm by quite a bit as well, go for the Surf, and still get all this match up with switch advantage, plus also some energy, which we might be able to use against the Credilli that is most likely coming back in afterwards. Let's see what they're gonna do. Okay, exactly, yeah, they're gonna go for the Credilli again, and so we can just go for a Surf, do a little bit of damage. Wild Charge actually was not even that crazy important for me during the games that I played, but still is always most likely at least the best coverage move, especially against like Pokemon like the Mantine, which you saw prior already. Having access to Wild Charge is definitely valuable. As you're gonna see here, Grass Knot is still doing a ton of damage. They don't have the Poliwrath in the back. We cannot speed them here to the Shadow Ball, going for the Big Boom with the Annihilape. Again, a lot of Annihilape teams from me as well, so you have like an option for this newly hyped Pokemon. But here the Wigglytuff with the Bowtie there is going to be able to win this game. Next opponent, we're going to have a Medicham in the lead, and the entire team beats Medicham. Like, there's nothing that we really have to do here. Like, this is a cool thing as well. Against any kind of fighting type Pokemon, you don't have to swap out with any Pokemon here. So, like, if the opponent runs a fighter, you win basically, because you're going to have a matchup of 3 Pokemon against 2 Pokemon, because they barely can do anything. And so, here we're going to be able to just stay in against the Lickitung. I can take those moves fairly easily. I can just farm them down. And yes, even if my Wigglytuff goes down, I don't really care. Mew is going to be weak against Pokemon like, I don't know, Dark types or whatever, but our Annihilape still can cover for this, so like, it's a really balanced team here for a lot of the current meta Pokemon. As you're gonna see here, Bastion coming in, this is totally okay for me. I can just go for the Icy Wind, get the debuff onto the opponent, and I'm just gonna let the opponent knock me out, because I can realign with the Annihilape. They swap out, I swap out, Mew is going to be a hard answer to Medicham, and there is nothing they can do anymore. Go for your Ice Punch if you want to. Like, Ice Punch is gonna do like next to no damage. I do super effective damage with my fast move. They do resisted damage with their fast move. And so this is going to be such a great matchup for us. We're gonna see the Surf coming through. I can let this next move go through. If they want to use some shields, go for it. Have fun with it. Like, it does not really matter. I can just go for 2 Surfs now and get both shields or whatever. I don't even know if they still have both shields left. Let me see here. They're gonna let this move go through. Yeah, they did still have both shields left. But, like, what do they want to do here with a Bear Shield? They have still faced the Mew, which they're actually gonna use a shield against. But, like, you're up against an Annihilape that has 2 shields. Like, what are you gonna do here? Like, I don't know. Don't really know where the opponent is not going to forfeit here at this point. They're still trying their best, but like there is literally no way of them winning. So this was a very easy matchup and we can move on to the next opponent. Another Mantine. Mantine again is not really my favorite Pokemon to face with this team because you're forced to stay in the lead and it's not a positive lead. Like, it's not like a bad lead either, it's like a very neutral matchup. But here this time around I actually decided to let the first move go through, which I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but we can just go for the Icy Wind and get a ton of damage. And with this, again, we're going to be able to just get the knockout against the opponent, or like get them fairly low that I can knock them out with even another Pokemon later on. But they're gonna swap out into the Lickitung here now, which is going to be a little bit of an awkward matchup. I'm going to use a shield onto the Power Whip, which I guess was a smart decision for me, and I have to still go for an Ice Punch in order to knock them out before they can go for another Power Whip. But let's see, they're going to let this move go through. I can definitely get the knockout before they would. I think I could have farmed them down here. I think this was a mistake by me. I think I should have just went for the full farm down, as it can now go back basically into their Mantine. But they actually swap out into their own Annihilape. That's going to be interesting. I can go up to my own Shadow Ball. I kind of want to have a different IV spread, by the way, for my Annihilape. I still hope that I get a certain IV spread from the Mankeys that are currently around, because there are like 3 different IV spreads that are actually kind of very interesting for this Pokemon. I already made like a little bit of a PvP IV deep dive where I didn't have like that many suggestions. But there are like some that are very interesting. For example, a 6-15-6 is a very interesting move, like IV spread for the Annihilape as well for the Great League. So I'm kind of looking for that. But yeah, here we're going to be able to go up against the Mantine. I can go for the full farm down, get the knockout. We see the Annihilape coming back in. We can go for a Surf. This can get the shield. It does get the shield, and I can just go for the Wild Charge afterwards, which is going to guarantee the knockout here with a Mew. And so we can move on to the next opponent. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have the Lickitung against our Wigglytuff in the lead, which is going to be amazing. As I swap out into the Skeledirge, I was a little bit slow here. And this is definitely something that can hurt me later on. I'm forced to use a shield here, but I can still at least go for 2 more extra fast moves here and basically force a shield from the opponent again. They're still going to outspeed me to the next charge move, but I'm still going to be okay with that, because if I get them low, I think I'm going to still be okay with that. As we will see here, the opponent going for a Disarming Voice. I can go for 2 more fast moves, go for my charge move again. But yeah, if you swap out a little bit faster here, you're definitely going to have a way better matchup, but the opponent lets the move go through anyway. And so we can realign, which is kind of nice. And I kind of want to swap out into my Annihilape here, which maybe was a little bit of a mistake. But I kind of want to keep the energy on the Mew, just in case that there's something in the back where Mew would be good against. But let's take a look at this one. We're going to see here that the opponent is going to have to take the Ice Punch. Let's see if they're going to use a shield on this or not. They do not, and I can still try to go for the full farm down, but they can go for a charge move. And with this, they can knock me out because it's going to be a Power Whip, and so Annihilape goes down. I have a shield disadvantage. I have my Mew still with some energy. And they're going to have a Talonflame in the back. This was not ideal for us. Talonflame is not what I wanted to see in the back, because it's going to be a hard answer for the Wigglytuff. My only win con here is if they would shield this Icy Wind, because I still have the Wild Charge stored, of course, on the Mew. Maybe they forgot about it, but they didn't, and so they're going to be able to win this game, because there's not a lot that I can do here. I can still go for a Surf and force a final shield, but they can even go for a charge move, and they don't have to risk anything here. So this is going to be a good game there against the opponent. Talonflame can be a little bit of an issue, but it's pretty rare, I have to say. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have here the Annihilape in the lead. That's going to be amazing. They're going to be forced to swap out into their Lantern, and I can stay in here for a little bit, because again, this entire team is good against Annihilape, which is something that I kind of wanted to achieve with this one. And so we can just stay in here for a little bit, go for the Disarming Voice. I just try to get them low, and after this I can swap out into my own Annihilape if I want to. And it does not really matter what the opponent did there, because if they go for the shield, that's totally fine, which they did here. But if they let this move go through, I would have been easily able to farm them down. But at this point, I just just gonna get all the energy in the world. I can let this move go through as well. It should be only a surf, which we can easily survive. And with this, we're going to have a ton of energy. Like, very, very close to being nearly at their full. But we're going to see as well that the opponent is going to have their own Mandibuzz in the back. So we have some dark types here. But they're still going to have to take all the ice punches that are coming their way. And with this, we're going to be able to get them insanely low. But also, we still have our Wigglytuff in the back anyway for them. They swap out into their own Annihilape, allowing me to go for my Annihilape. Going to go for the Shadow Ball here. But yeah, we're going to see that they're going to use a shield, which is fine for me because I can align my Mew. I can use a shield because it's going to guarantee me that I should be able to go off for like one Wild Charge. Sadly, they're going to go for the bait, so I cannot overfarm by that much. But the Wild Charge is going to allow us to get the clean knockout here. And so we are going to have now the matchup of the Wigglytuff against the Mandibuzz. And I think we all know how this matchup is going to go, right? Actually, never mind. The opponent went for the Aerial Ace, which was a mistake. So Mew is just going to take this game and we can win this with 3 Pokemon left. Whiscash lead now. Like, what do you want to do here? You kind of want to stay in for a little bit, to be fair, but like I swapped out here immediately, but I would actually recommend you to maybe stay in for a little bit, try to go for maybe an Icy one and then swap out, because like the matchup for Mew against Whiscash is just not really ideal. I'm going to let the first move go through, which is going to be a Mud Bomb, which is kind of nice for me, but again, it's not going to be the greatest matchup ever, as you see here as well, that we're not gonna two-shot them with Surf, which is kind of sad, but yeah, they're going to basically outspeed me as well the entire time. So it's not really going to be the greatest matchup. We can still go for a Surf here and gonna get them a little bit lower. I can still use another shield and force them to use their final shield. And after this, my plan is basically to try to farm them all the way down with the Annihilape. But they actually gonna decide to go into their own Ferrothorn, allowing me to go into my own Annihilape. So we were able to swap out already, which is kind of nice. And the opponent actually does a ton of damage. And this was, I thought at least at the point, a little bit of a mistake to go for the Ice Punch. But it actually wasn't, because we kind of put them perfectly into farm down range, which is kind of funny. And so we're gonna be able to get some extra energy. But still not going to be over here. I can still go for the Shadow Ball though against the opponent's Alolan Ninetales. Going to be the Powder Snow variant, which is kind of interesting. Not sure if I'm going to prefer the Powder Snow over the normal variant there, but we can go into a Mew, and we should be able to just go for the Wild Charge and hopefully swap out afterwards, because this Wild Charge is going to do a ton of damage here. We can swap out, and you're going to put them now with this move into the Charm Down range, which is going to be exactly what we kind of want to achieve here. Dazzling Beam coming through, doing a ton of damage, and the Whiscash is still going to be a little bit scary. But as long as the Whiscash does not have 2 moves now, we should be kind of fine, as it cannot go for the full farm down with Mew, and with this we're gonna get a ton of energy, enough to get to a Surf and knock out the opponent's Alolan Ninetales, and with that we can also move on into the next game now. Let's take a look what they're going to run. They're going to run an Azumarill, which can be a little bit of a trickier one, but I guess we have like one Pokemon that's really decent against it with the Mew, which is going to have access to the move Wild Charge, but also the Wigglytuff, which is a very, very neutral against the Azumarill. And we're gonna stay in here for a little bit. We can go for a charge move. Disarming Voice is going to be kind of nice here. This is going to do some decent damage against them, and so we're gonna put them into the deep red health. And honestly, I make a little bit of a mistake. Maybe could have decided to use a shield here, but I decided to just let this move go through and just go for the full farm down. At least it's what I thought at the time, but then I realized this will not work out, so I forced to go for a Surf in order to knock them out before they go for their own charge move. I'm still gonna end up with a little bit of energy, but they're going to have the Obstagoon and a Gligar in the back. So with this, they're going to completely hardware me here, right? We have to see about this, because as you're gonna see here as well, the opponent is going to have some nice energy. They're going to generate energy a little bit faster than I do to get to like my Ice Punch. They're going to get there always like one fast move earlier. But interestingly enough, the opponent decided to let this next move go through. Yeah, I think they thought that they had 2 moves already, which I didn't. And so they're going to let this Ice Punch go through, which is amazing. And so now it's down to basically the Obstacle, and I can go for another Ice Punch, which is kind of funny as well, which the opponent is actually have to let this move go through. And we see the counter damage coming in. I can go ahead and catch the move here onto my Mew. It's going to be a Night Slash, which is going to not get any boost or anything like this. We can actually survive this, and you see me not throwing there because I was hoping that they throw immediately, which they do. It's going to be the Night Slash, which is going to actually get the attack buff for the opponent, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult. But I can just go for one more counter and Annihilape wins us this game. Moving on to the next opponent, and the final opponent for today, we're going to have a Gligar, and now we have Azumarill swapping in. So again, we're going to try to basically stay in here for a little bit, and I'm gonna keep the move because I feel like it would be very good for the Gligar to keep the Icy Wind, so I decided to now swap out into my Mew. This should be already arranged for the Wild Charge, I thought, and I decided to let this move go through from the opponent, which is going to be a Play Rough, which does actually quite a lot of damage. Of course, Bubble Buff as well, making this a little bit more awkward, but I can go for the Wild Charge, and I either get 2 shields or I get realignment, which I'm going to take here with the realignment. They're gonna most likely go back into their Gligar, which is going to be fine for me as well, because I still have this Surf here, and I should be able to even get to 2 Surfs, and with the Icy Wind that I still have stored, we're going to be in a fairly decent spot, because they're kind of forced to go for a shield here most likely, otherwise they're gonna die to like 1 or 2 charms, which is going to be amazing for us as well. So yeah, they decide to use a shield, they're gonna swap out, and they're going to have a Registeel in the back, and this is amazing, because it's a perfect setup for our Annihilape to go for the full farm down, and this is the cool thing about Annihilape as well. With the coverage moves that this Pokemon has, if you can just go for a full farm down against a Steel type Pokemon, there is not a lot that the opponent can do there anymore. I can just go ahead and go for the complete farm down here. I decided to use 1 shield at least. This is going to be mostly just a Focus Blast, which is totally fine for me, but I have now 2 Ice Punches stored, and there is nothing that the opponent can do about it. We easily win CMP-tie against the Gligar, not even close, and so as long as I'm going to be able to hit the final move here, and the game shows me the actual animation for it, yeah, exactly it does here, we're going to be able to win this final game. And so this is going to be it for this video. Definitely a very cool team to hunt down those Annihilapes. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like and check out the videos on the screen. See you then, bye bye.